Okay, students, I think we are ready to wrap up this third page. I think I mentioned in the title of this particular video tutorial that it's about adding a narrative or writing. It's not much, just a paragraph or two above this image gallery explaining what it is. Is this a store for purchases? Is this a sample of your services, samples of design work, whatever it is, and your boutique that you're offering? Okay, so what I've done is I did a couple things. I cleaned up all of my thumbnails, so yours should be functional. So when you go to your browser, uh, it should look like this. You should click on separate items. They should hover and have a opacity change, and then when you click on them, it should open in a new tab, full screen like this. Now it might be different. Depends on your browser. It might go to the left and might have a gray background, but this is how Google Chrome handles just a JPEG or a PNG. So if you just have an image, that's a nice shirt. And I'm just trying to think what kind of I think I'd wear a mustard tie with it. I don't know. Anyway, looking at these, you got the 9. I'm not happy with this. I'll probably add some kind of margin above the footer or something later. I deleted that promotions thing. I don't remember if I did that in the last video, but having the promotions bar under there was kind of redundant because there's 3 links here, then there's 3 links of different sizes beneath it, so I just got rid of that. So I want to wrap this up so we can get to the contact page and then tweak this entire site, and we will be good to go. So back to Dreamweaver. Here's a sample of what I wrote, okay? So something like this. I had to stylize the text, and I'm going to show you how I did that. I made a little classification or style rule of green text, dot green text, so this word and the green barrel could both be green. I'll also put in a dark background inside of this contact about. And yes, it will affect every page that has a contact underscore about on it, which this is the only page that has that. And then the contact page, I had to stylize the link, so I'm not in live, but if I'm live view, as you'll see, when I hover over this, it goes green. I had to set up I guess these have that hover, but I had a slightly dark. I'll change that and make it match these greens up here. But anyway, I'm going to show you in the code what I did. So this is in the content about. Right here, this is where the images begin, and you should have something like this. I separated mine, so you just be careful when you do that. That way I could just kind of, but see where it says starts with an A and ends with an A, I just made those separate little sections, so I know that I've got 9 of these. This is the link, and then the image, and of course the alt tag we're not dealing with. And then above this, right before, inside the content about, I just started typing text, and then I made something bold, and I made that green text. But let me show you what happened in the CSS, the things that I did there in the CSS to make this happen. So here we are in the content about area. Let me zoom in just a little. This was the original content about. This is the content about images, just stylizing the images with borders and transparency when you roll over. This was that hover effect that makes that happen. And I made this, so freeze frame this, pause it, whatever, content about space P. And what this means is all paragraph text in here, because I told this content about area to say text align center. I don't like center align text. Rarely does it work good. You know, if it's a tall vertical poster or something, it might be kind of nice, but you know, invitation to a wedding, but typically we want a line left or justified or even a line right before vertical alignment. All right, so I've got content about space P, which means all body text, paragraph text will be stylized this. I said text align left, so that forced the text align center that's in this whole area to overrule it. And I gave it a margin of 50 pixels because I didn't really put a margin inside of this or padding inside here, and I don't want to mess with these because they have a nice kind of padding between them already, and I don't want to have to adjust the size of the content about div. the width of it or height of it. So what I did is I put margin for all paragraph, and I adjusted it. First I started with 20, then I went 30, and then 38, and finally 50 kind of aligns up with this on both right and left, and I like that. So yours might be different, depends on the size of your thumbnail. Okay, so that's what the margin all the way around. And I put the color of the text to be white. I already set Trillium is kind of the universal up here in the bottom. Titilium, excuse me. Titilium Web was a Google Web font that I used here. And I put the line height because I'd specified a line height of 22 up here in the body right there. So that was overruling everything here. So I wanted to interject a div specific line height and size and so forth. So that made everything here look pretty decent. Okay, and this, right below this is stylization. I have links in a different div. I needed to make sure that they were stylized correctly. And so while I'm at it, I'm looking at this. I wonder what the green was up here in my nav bar. I want to use that. It was called green yellow. I want to use that color in text instead so it matches, okay? So I'm going to make my green text, not lime green, but yellow green, or green yellow. Oops. I'll fix that. And then I want my hover to be also that same color. That's on my links. Perfect. Make sure I get rid of this extra. Okay. So what it is content about space, a link, a hover, a visited, a active. There's 4 states. If you don't put all 4 of them, then they're going to take over and default to that purple or red or yellow or blue or whatever their default is. So just come up with some little critical mass of text to kind of lead into this and explain what these thumbnails are for, because we're really not having any other verbiage or narrative on these pages. I did put a RGBA background inside the content about up here. I added this line if you want to do something like that. And I was doing that so my text would show up. The thumbnails were fine, but the text wasn't showing up very well. So I want it to be 65% black. And I think it pops out pretty good. Let me go back to full screen. Yeah, I think it pops out pretty good. The text does. So that works for me. All right. The other thing I want to mention before I move on to the contact page, we'll say File, Save All. In the source code, on the title, every page should have a unique title. Right now, and you probably have the same situation, because I really haven't told you much about this, but it says the Green Barrel Home. This should be, for me, Green Barrel Store on this page. If I was on the About page or whatever, I'd say Green Barrel About. If I'm on the Contact page, I would say Contact. So don't forget that. I'll try to remind you as we do the next page. I don't think we did this with the second page, or this is actually a gallery. I mean, so you call this whatever it is. Whatever your button is up here, if it says gallery, call it gallery. If it's store, store. I called mine store, so I'm pretending to sell these objects, okay? That's why I mentioned, like here, if you want to buy something, go to my form, basically inquire about it, because these are such secretive prices that you've got to email me. All right. Hope you're staying up with this, and we'll talk to you soon.